Good morning, everyone. Thank you for watching the Julie Chan Show, where passion meets purpose. And today is Pub Day for Laurie Gelman.
How
Book. So exciting.
did that happen, Julie? How did that happen?
We met when you were writing, when you had just completed your first book. And I reached out because I was going to be in New York and I was going to miss your book talk by one day. And I reached out and you so kindly reached back. And I said, if you're ever in LA, I think I know a lot of moms who could use your book. And you came to LA to be on the talk with Julie Chen.
Right.
And you called me and came here first. It's like, it was like your green room, right? You got to.
It really was. It was so cool. And I will forever be grateful because back then, nobody gave a hoot whether Laurie Gelman had written a book or not. And you did. And you set up so many wonderful things for me. And you've just been the patron saint of so many authors. And you're just great.
Thank you so much. And it has just been so much fun to watch you on this journey, from you telling us stories of you were trying to write a book and you were thinking maybe a children's book. And then you were in your agent's office and you were like talking to him about all the lovely moms you meet.
Yes. All the fun I was having as class mom. And
yeah.
He said at the time, he said, Paul Fedorko, he was my agent, and he said, that's your book. Forget the children's book. This is the book you should write. And he was absolutely right, because as much as I didn't want to talk about it because it frustrated me so much, it ended up being the greatest thing to write about.
Right. Absolutely. And everyone needs your books. I mean, truly, instead of going to a therapist's office, they could just read your books. I just remember reading your second book. I was in the middle of reading your second book, and there are these texts flying of what volunteer job that I was trying to be assigned for. And I said no. And so then more texts flew, but they weren't supposed to be for me. And they were like, can you believe she won't do that? And how could she? And does she actually think she could do this other thing? And I was like, and then they apologized. And I said, oh, we're all good. No problem. How are you not mad? Well, because I'm reading Laurie Gelman's book. Have you ever heard of these? Class Mom, You've Been Volunteered. It was real funny. It was like, yeah, how to go get those.
That happens more often than you think, that someone gets added to a chain email, or it's reply all instead of just to one person. And I've tried to put that in a book, and I just can't seem to find the right way that it's not too hurtful, but it's just funny. But I've had so many people write me that like that has happened to them.
Really? Yeah. And in the moment, right, you feel like you're the only one, like, wow, that's so dumb. But yeah, I'm sure it happens more often than not. So you write Class Mom, then you write You've Been Volunteered, and Yoga Pant Nation is really the You've Been Volunteered. I mean, it's the ultimate. And what was Jen Dixon volunteered for in this book?
In this book, she is asked to be the head of the fundraising committee for the school. They need to raise $10,000 for the fifth grade class for tablets. And they said, the last year they needed to raise $2,000. Some woman was charged with raising $2,000 for the playground. And then Jen gets $10,000 for that. It's a massive thing. So she's completely overwhelmed. And she has this like ragtag group of people that is her fundraising committee, and hilarity ensues.
Yeah. And she is trying to resist it at first. And I love her committee name. Tell us about that.
How you're not supposed to say it out loud, right? It's only to be read. And that's what happens in the book, is someone says it out loud at an inopportune moment. But yeah, it's the We Fundraise Until Kingdom Come. And if you make that into a mnemonic device, then
okay. I'm writing it here. So everyone can read it. Now, really, it stands
for... You did write it. Oh my gosh, I just noticed. Fundraise Until Kingdom Come Team. That's the team.
Fundraise Until Kingdom Come Team.
Well, no, it's KC.
Oh, KC.
Dirty birdie. Dirty birdie. I would never say that.
I love it. But isn't it true? Don't moms feel that way when they get that assignment?
Oh, it's a big one. I mean, because it's not just you with your kids or doing something. The whole school's depending on you. and everybody knows about it, and everyone has there it is. There it is.
And that's the committee name.
I'm sorry, America. I would not have put it that way. Yeah, I mean, it was, I did it a couple of years at my school. I was never the head because that is just too big a job for me, but I was definitely on the committee, and it's a lot. It's a lot. It's not something you want to do more often than maybe once or twice.
Right. And then all the donations you have to get. It's amazing what comes in.
And asking people for donations. That's the killer. It's like, and then going back to them the next year. Like, you've just asked them, you've just called in every favor you've ever, done for somebody so that you get back something for the fundraiser. And then the next year you've got to go back and do it again. It's like so painful.
And in your real life, what has been the largest thing that was ever auctioned off?
We didn't do auctions. We did do auctions. Yeah, they were mostly silent auctions. Okay. I think there was like a trip somewhere. I honestly don't remember. It wasn't what I brought in. I brought in like a Gucci purse and a big fun basket of stuff from Paramount Pictures, including DVDs and characters, and then tickets to something or this or that. And obviously, we always do tickets to Live with Kelly and.
Right. And probably a date with you and Michael, right?
Sorry?
Probably a date with you and Michael?
Yeah, no, because nobody would want that. Trust me. The fantasy is so much better than the reality in that situation.
Okay, so in your 3 books, what I love is Jen Dixon has this great relationship with her husband. And in your real life, there's also a great relationship with Michael. What do you think makes a relationship lasting and fun and just keeps you together through the years?
There's one thing, and it's be nice to each other. It's the simplest thing. There are so many times that you could so easily snap at someone, or, if you're both lying in bed and he says, "Oh, well, could you get me a glass of water?" You go, "Yeah, get it yourself." Like, but don't do that. Go get the glass of water. It's just a nicer way to, and then next time when you ask, then he'll go get it, or you hope that that's what happens.
Right.
Yeah, I think being nice is the first, and then laughing together about everything. But you can't laugh if you're mad. So in order to not be mad, try to just be nice.
Yeah, definitely.
Easy.
Nice and laughter. But it's so much easier said than done, right? Because
like I said, your first instinct is to say, like, oh, say something off the cuff or mean or whatever. But if you can bite your tongue and just go, yeah, okay, then it'll make the day go by a little better.
Yeah, absolutely. I love in this 3rd book, Yoga Pant Nation, you, of course, know everything that moms are going through right now, including drinking their favorite beverage. Jen Dixon's beverage of choice. Tell us.
LaCroix soda now. She's changed. She's not caffing up anymore. So she had to, she was told she's really got to, lower it down. So she does LaCroix pamplemousse, which is grapefruit.
It's my favorite. When I read that in the first few pages, I was like, oh my gosh, she's my gal. And it's all those connections, I think, with Jen Dixon throughout your book that just make it more special. Because
she's a real mom, she's a real person, and she lives in the real world, which is middle America. That's where it all really happens,
Right. And people keep asking me, why Kansas? What is Laurie's tie to Kansas City? And I love your answer to that. So share it for those who don't know.
You know what? First of all, I was tired of reading books about the awful moms in New York or LA, and it just seemed so elitist. But I thought if I put this in the middle of America, and Kansas City is pretty close to the geographic center of the United States, then it will sort of feed out and everybody will be able to relate to it in some way. Not to say that Kansas City is the typical American city, because it's not. It has its own wonderful and amazing things, to offer. But if it starts there, hopefully it'll grow.
Right. And it's right in the middle. It's central. And
geographic center of the United States.
Yeah. Love that. Now, in this 3rd book, Jen Dixon, of course, like most moms, they have some sort of passion and they're striving for more. And hers is becoming a spin instructor.
Yeah.
Tell us about why that was important to you.
Because I've always wanted to do it myself. I am a spin fanatic for the last 12 years. I've loved it. It's the greatest 45 minutes where you can just just like let off steam in a room with great music, and you're exercising, and you come out looking like somebody threw a bucket of water on you because you've sweated out so much of toxin and anxiety and everything else. And I would love to be a spin instructor. I really would. I think that would be the most fun. But I don't think I'm not, I could never be a spin instructor. So I just sort of.
Why can't you?
I just don't have it for that. I don't think, maybe one day, like on my birthday, I'll ask my favorite spin instructor if I can be the instructor for the day. But I think that's all I'd have. And also, I don't think I'm in that great a shape. And you have to be the best person in the room. And I'm rarely that, let me just say, especially at my age. But so I wanted Jen to go through the process and actually become and feel the joy of being, the leader in a classroom of spinners and play her own music and time. Yeah.
She definitely did. She definitely won at that, and she worked really hard at it. And it was just so gratifying, right? As a fellow mom to see that, like, go, Jen. And then she meets her husband's ex.
Crazy Cindy. Crazy ex-wife Cindy. Yeah. And who all of a sudden shows up at her spin class, and she doesn't know why, and she doesn't want to trust her, but then she's so positive and she's so lovely and she keeps showing up, and Jen's like, wow, like maybe she really did turn, a corner. Because of course, this is the woman who has made their life miserable for 3 books now, and has, like, the first book she sent them when she heard they were getting married, she sent them a big case of diapers, like a Costco-sized case of diapers, because she said they were like babies. Anyway, that was long. Go read the first book if you want to know about that. But yeah, like, she shows up, but with very surprising consequences at the end.
Yes. You have so many twists and turns in your books, in all of them, but especially in this third one. Were there ever moments when you were stumped and thought, how is this going to twist? What other story am I going to bring in?
Julie, that's every day of my life. That's every day of my writing life. I start the book. Everyone says, is that mapped out? No, it is not. I know it's going to start in September and end in June because that's the school year. And then I just start writing, and I figure it out as I go along. And there are times when I've written myself into a corner, or I don't know how to pay it off. And somehow, as you keep writing, it just all comes together, and you go back and you change things, but going forward, it just somehow magically all comes together.
And are you really sitting with yourself and your characters come in and speak to you? Or do you have people around you? Was there a book group around you that you'd have to go talk to about it?
No, I was all by myself. Actually, I always say that writing is such a lonely job. It really is, because it's you inside your head, and it can get very messy. And when I'm writing, which I am now, I'm writing the 4th book, and those characters live in your head. So everything that you do, you're always thinking like, oh, can I put that in the book? Or does that work? Or what am I going to do about so-and-so? They're always with you when you're writing. When you're not writing, not so much, but when I'm writing a book, it's always there.
And I've heard also from other authors, like you could become so attached to the characters, like they're your real friends, and you feel like you're meeting them and hanging out with them, and they're talking to you when you're writing.
Yeah, it's funny. Look, they're not only my friends, but the other day, I was writing, and then Michael came in and he asked me something. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, I don't know. And then I realized I was writing a fight in the book. And so I was in fight mode. I was like, meh, and meh. And then so Michael, I'm like, what do you want? When he came in, because I was still in that. You get very emotional, like you're sucked into that world.
Interesting. It almost sounds like hypnosis. Like you're so really.
Yeah. No. And when I've written if I write for 3 hours and I come out, it's like I'm coming out into the sunlight after being in the dark. Like it's like all of a sudden you have to like go back into the world you're actually living in. And it's a tough turn sometimes.
And so if you could have one of your characters truly come to life and become friends with them and sit with them at a restaurant, who would you choose?
Such a good question. I have never thought of it. Well, obviously Ron, the perfect husband, would be great. Although I have
the perfect husband. You wrote Michael into Ron.
It wouldn't be Jen, because she and I just like. I think maybe pizza. Pizza's like super fun, and or maybe one of the daughters.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, maybe Viv's.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. And how do the daughters in the book relate to the daughters in your real life?
Well, you know what's funny? I didn't realize, because when I wrote the first book, my daughters were, 14 and 12 or something like that. And they were in their 20s. They'd graduated college, the daughters in the book. But as I'm writing more and more, I'm realizing that although they're much older, their personalities are exact mirrors to Jamie and Misha. And I didn't even realize it at the time, but the older ones, the like firstborn, rah, rah, rah personality, and the second one born is the sweeter one. And, it's just really funny how it works out that way.
Interesting. And it was so subconscious. You weren't
conscious. I didn't, and then it occurred to me, literally, it was like 2 days ago. I was like, oh my gosh, this is Jamie and Misha. It really is.
And have the girls read the books, and do they see the correlation?
They both read, no, wait a minute. Misha has never read a book. She's my 17-year-old. Jamie read the first book and tried to get into the second book. That's not really their thing. They don't get half of the jokes because they're so like dated and time referenced. And but I know that they're proud of me. I know they really are.
It's interesting that you think that because of their age, it's tougher for them to get into the books, because I have a friend who you've met at one of our book parties here in LA, and her daughter loves your books.
Really?
Major.
An old soul. She must be an old soul that like has that old wisdom humor.
Yeah. I don't know, but I was stunned also, like you, like, wow, she's really young. Yeah. But you're right. It's the old soul. It must be. And I've also spoken with other 20-somethings who absolutely love your books. And I'm like, you're single and you don't have kids.
How could you relate to this in any way, shape, or form?
They must be really close to their mothers, is all I could think.
Yeah. But also, remember, my girls they were still teenagers at the time. One of them still is. So they really, at some point, I'm sure they'll read them.
Right. Of course they will. Absolutely. So now you're working on the 4th book in the same series.
Yes. I didn't, that's
a 5-book series, right?
I don't know. I mean, listen, we've got middle school, we've got high school, we've got college. There's a lot ahead of us. I mean, I don't think she's not going to be a class mom anymore, obviously, because in the 4th book, he's in middle school and there's no more class moms. But she finds another way to get involved that is really, really fun and special. But it's so funny. I've been reading reviews about the 3rd book and about Yoga Pant Nation, and people keep saying, oh, nice wrap up to this, or weak wrap up to this series of books, which whoever is reviewing it. But I want to say it's not the end. Like if you think it's a weak wrap up, it's because it's not a wrap up. It's not the end of the series yet.
Right, right. And Jen will continue to evolve, which is so much fun.
And she and I are both trying to be better people. That's for sure.
You're great. You're just trying to find what's next, or we all are.
We all are. Yeah. Right. Writing was my 3rd act. I don't believe I'm going to have a 4th one, so this is probably it.
Well, Jen Dixon might speak you into your 4th act.
Yeah. Wow.
You might be a spin instructor.
Oh my God. Wouldn't that be great?
Yes. And you can do that. And everyone will be coming to spin with you and then buy all your books. You'll have them all behind you.
I like where you live. Where is that exactly? In a fantasy world where people buy my books. That's awesome.
That's what I imagine. I mean, your books are truly the best. Every mother, and apparently even non-mothers, need your books so that they understand their own moms better.
Even some men.
Yeah.
Straight men and gay men have both told me that they really enjoy my books. So that's nice.
Yes. Well, I especially love the spin line in this book. Jen Dixon just going through that and becoming the spin instructor and getting really good at it after, having a lot of doubt about that. You spoke into that so well, but it makes sense because that's your own personal desire. So.
That's my own heart's desire. Yeah. But it's funny because when she was doing her training, she was training with all these like young 20-somethings, and they called her Grandma Jen because she was the oldest one in the class.
Yes. And I love that she has the mentors who are so supportive.
Yeah.
It's great. How was it for you writing being Jen Dixon and Jen Dixon having to straddle the older daughters, the middle schooler, and then the aging parents?
Crazy life, right? Well, I've actually kind of lived that. I haven't had the older daughters, but I've had a bit of the sandwich situation in my life. And it really is like there are a lot of balls in the air. It is something that if you're lucky, you get to face. You get to have your parents and your children at the same time. But it's really challenging. And I used a lot of my experiences with, my father had Alzheimer's. So I used a lot of those experiences in my writing.
Mm. Yeah. And that's great because so many people are going through that. So to be able to connect on that level also just, helps people truly feel like the books are therapy.
Aw, thanks.
In every way. Yeah. So what was your ritual when you were writing? Like, I'm sure there were days, especially through COVID, that you didn't want to write, but luckily there was nothing else to do.
Well, COVID was, I don't want to say it was a blessing, but for me, the good thing that came out of it was, I was recovering from spinal fusion surgery. So I was really not able to do much moving around. And then I was in quarantine. So all I had to do all day was write. And because of that, I got the book done much faster than I would have. When we were locked down, I think I had 50 pages written. And 3 months later, I'd finished the book. So it was kind of lucky for me. I don't want to say that it was lucky because quarantine was hell for everybody. But if there was one shining moment in it for me, it was that I got a chance to write.
But were there days when you got tired of it or you felt like you didn't want to do it that day? Or every day you were?
Every day. What are you talking about? Every day I have to force myself to get in front of the computer. Because like I said, it's very lonely, frustrating, hard work. It's not digging ditches and it's not, scrubbing floors, but it's emotionally very hard to look at a screen and know that you have to fill it and feel very unworthy of the task. And there's a lot of head games that go on. But once you get going, it's great. And when you finally type the end, I've said it about every book, and it's true about every book. It is the greatest moment in an author's life. It's just like the end, and you mean it. It's like, I'm done. I'm done with this book. And you just want to burst into tears, just having it all off your shoulders.
Yeah. We are getting a question here. Does your husband help with household chores?
Michael and my deal is that anything on the outside of the house is his, anything on the inside of the house is mine.
Well, that's a lot inside the house, isn't it?
A lot. But you know what? He does a lot. He's so proud of his garden and his, the exterior of the house that he does a lot as well.
That's great. It's great.
My daughter's helping me out, so it's okay.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And they're learning a lot, right?
Yeah, they're great. They're actually, it's so funny when, you beat it into their heads every day for so many years. And then all of a sudden one day it just happens. Like we were at dinner and then out of nowhere, both girls got up and started clearing the table for everybody. And I was like, oh, I didn't even have to ask them. They just know that it's their job.
At what age does that happen?
Yeah. How old are they now? No, like about 16. They get it. I could have been more. I could have been a little more, proactive. But.
Maybe around 16 and 9 or 10 months.
Yeah, sure. Yes.
Not 16 and 2 months.
But this is after like years of me saying, okay, girls, time to clean the table. And I had to do it every single time. But one day they just did it themselves. And since then, they always do it themselves.
Well, congratulations to you. Good mom. Amazing mom.
Thanks.
That's so great. Love it. So are you going to be introducing new friends in the next book?
Well, I'll give you a little preview of the next book. I won't tell you the title because I'm not allowed to. But in the next book, Max is in 7th grade. So he's in middle school with all the fun that, goes along with that.
Yes.
And they don't have class moms anymore. So she realizes Max wants to be part of the wrestling team. So she becomes a mat mom. She becomes a sports mom of the wrestling team. And just make your own jokes because really it's just ripe for mining. It's like so many great things can happen.
And how did you choose wrestling?
Kelly Ripa. She talked so much about Joaquin wrestling, and she would make me laugh at her stories. And then I got on the phone with her one day for like an extended period of time. And I said, okay, tell me everything about being a mat mom. Because I was maybe going to be a hockey mom. I wasn't sure. I was thinking, I knew it had to be sports because we haven't gone there yet. And then when she told me the stories about being a mom, I was like, I'm in. This is it. It's just too right.
That's great. And her stories must be great. And her embellishing them.
Yeah,
Just
terrific. And it's really hard because I tried not to steal all her good material just in case she wants to use it for something.
uh,
I tried not to, but she really inspired me.
that's great. I love that. And have there been other inspirations over, I'm sure?
It's getting harder because my kids are now pretty much out of school. I've got one more in having her senior year, but other than that, it's really not my world anymore. So I have to do a lot of asking of other people, just like, oh, tell me your story. And because in my mind, I'm thinking in the fourth book, Maud, the granddaughter, is now 4 years old and she's starting preschool. So I'm wondering if I can go back to being like the class grandma and see if even that's a thing, but I'm not sure. I'll see what happens.
Well, I will say when my youngest was in kindergarten, my mom was very involved in that classroom.
Really?
Yes, she would go and because in kindergarten, especially in public school, they need extra help. And so they need helpers at each station. So she would come once a week and help in a station and teach the kids. But also my mom was a teacher.
Call me. I'm telling you, if she has any funny stories about being a class grandma, like definitely let me talk to her.
All right. I will definitely put you two in touch. So much fun to be with you today.
Always.
I absolutely love you. Excited about this third book, Yoga Pant Nation. So many of my friends have already pre-ordered it and we'll just keep sharing it. And I can't wait till you're in LA again so we can do a big book tour.
I know. Thank you so much for everything. Like you're just the patron saint of books and it's fantastic. And I adore you, Julie. Thanks for having me on today.
I adore you. I will see you soon. I can't wait to give you a big hug. No. Have a good day. Take care. Bye. Thank you everyone for watching.